Welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about something truly amazing. 4 human beings are flying toward the moon. Not in a movie, not in a video game, in real life. It happened on April 1st, 2026. And no, it is not an April Fool's joke. NASA would never do that. Well, we hope not. This mission is called Artemis II. And it is the first time in more than 50 years that humans have traveled toward the moon. 50 years. Think about that. Your parents were probably children the last time this happened. Maybe even your grandparents were young. So today, we are going to answer some big questions. Why did we go to the moon before? Why did we stop? Why are we going back now? Who is going? How much does it cost? And what happens next? Let's start from the beginning. A long time ago, 1969, something happened that the whole world stopped to watch. A man stepped onto the moon. His name was Neil Armstrong. And when he put his foot on the lunar surface, he said something that people still remember today. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Simple words, but enormous meaning. NASA's Apollo program was incredible. Between 1969 and 1972, NASA sent astronauts to the moon 6 times. 12 people walked on the lunar surface. 12 human beings standing on another world, looking back at Earth. It was one of the greatest things humans have ever done. The last person to walk on the moon was an astronaut named Eugene Cernan. He left the lunar surface on December 14th, 1972. Before he climbed back into his spacecraft, he said, "We leave as we came, and God willing, as we shall return." Beautiful words, but here is the problem. We did not return, not for 50 years. So, why did we stop? This is the question everybody asks. And the honest answer is, it was not about technology. We had the technology. It was about something much more human, money, and politics. After the Apollo missions, President Nixon decided that NASA needed less money. The government had other problems to pay for. The Vietnam War was expensive. The economy had problems. And honestly, the space race was over. America had already won. They beat the Soviet Union to the moon. So NASA had to cancel 3 more moon missions that were already planned. Just like that, gone. After that, NASA focused on things closer to Earth. They built a space shuttle, a reusable spacecraft that went to low Earth orbit, not the moon. Then they helped build the International Space Station, where astronauts live and work in space, but only about 400 kilometers above Earth. The moon is 384,000 kilometers away. That is very, very different. And every time a new United States president came into office, they changed NASA's direction. Go to Mars. No, go back to the moon. No, go to an asteroid. It was like a GPS that keeps saying, recalculating, recalculating. Nobody could agree, and without agreement, there was no plan. And without a plan, there was no mission. So for 50 years, the moon waited. So why are we going back now? Okay, so we stopped going to the moon in 1972. We had the technology, we had the knowledge, but we stopped anyway. Then something changed. In 2017, President Donald Trump signed a document that officially told NASA, we are going back to the moon, and this time, people were serious. But why now? Why 2017? Why not 1990 or 2005 or 2010? 3 big reasons. Reason number 1, China. China has become very, very serious about space. They built their own space station. They landed robots on the moon. And they have plans to send their own astronauts to the moon by 2030. America looked at this and thought, wait, we cannot let that happen without us. The moon is not just a beautiful rock in the sky. It has resources. It has water, ice, frozen water, hiding in dark craters near the South Pole. Water means drinking water. Water means oxygen to breathe. Water means rocket fuel. Whoever controls those resources has a big advantage in space, and maybe on Earth too. So yes, part of the reason we are going back is competition. It is a new space race, quieter than the first one, but very real. Reason number 2, the moon is a stepping stone. NASA does not just want to visit the moon. They want to use it. The plan is to build a permanent base on the moon, a place where astronauts can live and work for long periods of time. And from that base, the next destination is Mars. The moon is like a practice field. If we can learn to survive on the moon with no air, extreme temperatures, and no supermarket, then maybe, just maybe, we can do the same on Mars. Reason number 3, new technology, new partners. This is not your grandfather's NASA. Today, NASA works with private companies like SpaceX, and they work with international partners, Canada, Europe, Japan. Space exploration today is a team sport, and the team is bigger than ever. NASA named a new program Artemis. In Greek mythology, Artemis is the goddess of the moon. She is also the twin sister of Apollo. Apollo took us to the moon the first time. Now Artemis brings us back. Nice, right? The program has several missions. First came Artemis I in November 2022. That was an uncrewed test flight. No humans, just mannequins with sensors. Think of it like a test drive, but the car goes around the moon and comes back. It lasted 25 days and worked beautifully. Then came Artemis II. That is the mission happening right now. 4 real humans flying around the moon and coming back. No landing, not yet. But the first crewed journey beyond low Earth orbit in more than 50 years. After that, Artemis IV, planned for 2028, will attempt an actual moon landing. Yes, boots on the lunar surface, again, and further in the future, a permanent moon base. Then Mars. Big plans, very big plans. Now, let's talk about the machines making this possible, because they are seriously impressive. The rocket is called the SLS, Space Launch System. It is enormous. It stands about 98 meters tall. That is taller than the Statue of Liberty, with the pedestal included. It uses 4 main engines, the same type of engines that powered the old space shuttle. But then it also has 2 massive white boosters on the sides. And here is a fun fact. Those 2 side boosters alone provide more than 75% of the total thrust at launch. The 4 main engines are almost secondary at that moment. The boosters do the heavy lifting, quite literally. The SLS is currently the most powerful rocket in the world, more powerful even than SpaceX's famous Falcon 9. It is in a completely different category. Now, on top of the SLS sits the spacecraft called Orion. This is where the 4 astronauts sit, live, eat, and sleep during the mission. The Orion capsule is named Integrity for this mission. The crew chose that name themselves. Orion has a life support system, navigation computers, communication systems, and very importantly, a launch abort system. If something goes wrong during launch, this system can pull the capsule away from the rocket in less than 1 second and carry the crew to safety. 1 second. That is faster than you can blink. The spacesuits the crew wear are also new and improved. They're bright orange, easy to see if the crew ends up in the ocean after splashdown. And unlike the old shuttle-era suits, which came in small, medium, and large, these suits are custom-fitted for each astronaut, like a very expensive, very technical tailor. Now, let's talk about the people making this journey, because this is not just any group of 4 people. This crew is historic. The commander is Reed Wiseman. He is 50 years old, a former test pilot, and a very experienced astronaut. He has lived on the International Space Station before. He knows what it feels like to be in space for a long time. He is the person in charge, the captain of the ship, so to speak. Next is Victor Glover. He's the pilot, the co-captain, and he is making history. Victor Glover is the first person of color to travel beyond low Earth orbit. In the entire history of human spaceflight, no person of color had ever gone this far from Earth until now. Then there is Christina Koch. She is a mission specialist, a scientist, an engineer, and she is also making history. Christina Koch is the first woman to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Again, in all of human history, no woman had ever gone this far until this mission. And finally, there is Jeremy Hansen. He is from Canada, a Canadian Space Agency astronaut, and he is making history too. Jeremy Hansen is the first non-American citizen to travel beyond low Earth orbit, and the first non-American to go to the vicinity of the moon. So, in this one mission, 3 world records are broken at the same time, by the same crew. When the crew was asked what the mission means to them, right before launch, each one gave a short answer. Victor Glover said, "We are going for our families." Christina Koch said, "We are going for our teammates." And Jeremy Hansen said, "We are going for all humanity." And the launch director, Charlie Blackwell Thompson, by the way, the first female launch director in NASA history, she told the crew, "On this historic mission, you take with you the heart of the Artemis team, the daring spirit of the American people, and the hopes and dreams of a new generation." It was emotional. A lot of people cried. Even the very serious engineers at NASA, they cried. Now, one more fun detail about this crew. They designed their own mission patch, the logo for the mission, and they designed it so that the letters A2 for Artemis II look like the word all, as in all people, all of humanity. Victor Glover explained it simply. He said, "We want everybody to be a part of this mission. That is a beautiful idea." Okay, now let's talk about something a little less beautiful. The delays. Oh, the delays. This mission was supposed to launch much earlier. Originally, the plan was late 2024. Then it moved to 2025. Then early 2026. Then February 2026. Then March 2026. And finally, April 1st, 2026. Why so many delays? Because space is hard, and rockets are complicated, and things go wrong. The first big problem happened in February 2026, during a practice countdown where the teams go through all the launch steps without actually launching. A liquid hydrogen leak was discovered. Hydrogen is the rocket's fuel. A fuel leak is obviously not something you ignore. So they stopped, fixed it, and tried again. The second big problem happened in late February. Engineers found an issue with helium flow inside the rocket's upper stage. Helium is used to pressurize certain systems. When the flow was not working correctly, NASA had to roll the entire rocket back into the giant assembly building. The rollback alone took about 10 hours. 10 hours to move a rocket, because it is that big and that delicate. But here is some perspective. These delays, as frustrating as they were, are actually a sign that the system is working. NASA caught these problems before launch, not during. And in space, catching a problem before launch is infinitely better than discovering it 300,000 kilometers from Earth. The original SLS rocket, by the way, was supposed to fly for the first time back in 2016. Congress told NASA, build this rocket and fly it by 2016. The first flight happened in November 2022, 6 years late. And the cost? Oh, this is where it gets uncomfortable. The SLS rocket alone cost nearly $24 billion to develop. The Orion spacecraft cost more than $20 billion. Together, more than $44 billion just to develop the hardware. And that is before a single launch. Each individual Artemis launch costs about $4 billion per flight. One launch, $4 billion. To put that in perspective, you could buy roughly 13 million PlayStation 5 consoles for $4 billion, or feed a small country for a year, or build thousands of schools and hospitals. People argue about this a lot. Is it worth it? Is sending 4 people around the moon for 10 days really worth $4 billion? Supporters say yes, absolutely. The technology developed for space exploration creates benefits for everyone on Earth. GPS, memory foam, water filtration systems, scratch-resistant lenses, all of these came from space research. And the total investment in the Artemis program, estimated at around $93 billion, sounds enormous. But the United States spends more than that on its military every single year. Critics say that money could solve real problems on Earth right now. Hunger, disease, climate change. Why spend it on the moon? It is a fair debate, and there is no easy answer. But what is certain is this. The mission is happening. The rocket flew. The crew is on their way. Right now, at this very moment, 4 human beings are inside a spacecraft called Integrity, traveling through the darkness of space toward the moon. Let's talk about what exactly they are doing up there, because this is not a simple road trip. Every single hour of this 10-day mission is carefully planned. After launch, the rocket first placed the Orion spacecraft into Earth orbit. This is like a quick check. NASA makes sure everything is working correctly before sending the crew further. Think of it like getting on a highway, pulling over after 1 kilometer, checking the car, and then saying, "Okay, everything looks good. Let's go." Then comes the big moment. The rocket's upper stage fires one more time. This is called the translunar injection burn. Translunar means toward the moon. This burn pushes Orion out of Earth orbit and sends it on a path toward the moon. At this point, the crew is traveling at incredible speeds. We're talking about roughly 40,000 kilometers per hour. For comparison, a commercial airplane flies at about 900 kilometers per hour. The Orion spacecraft flies more than 44 times faster than that. The crew will swing around the far side of the moon, the side that faces away from Earth, the side that humans never see from the ground. They will go approximately 4,700 miles beyond the moon. That means they will be farther from Earth than any human being has ever been in history. Ever. In all of human history. And then they come back. The return journey is also dangerous. When Orion re-enters Earth's atmosphere, it is traveling at about 25,000 miles per hour. That is the fastest speed any human beings have ever traveled during re-entry. The heat generated during this process is extreme, about 2,700 degrees Celsius on the outside of the capsule. That is half as hot as the surface of the Sunday. The heat shield on Orion's bottom protects the crew from this heat. Interestingly, after the first Artemis mission, the uncrewed one in 2022, engineers discovered that the heat shield had cracked in about 100 different places during re-entry. That was a serious problem. They spent years studying it, testing it, and modifying the re-entry path for Artemis II to make it safer. It is a shorter, steeper skip into the atmosphere. This reduces the heat exposure time. After surviving re-entry, Orion deploys 8 parachutes. 8. They slow the capsule from 25,000 miles per hour down to about 17 miles per hour before it splashes into the ocean. The capsule might land upside down or on its side, but airbags will automatically flip it upright. And then recovery ships will pull the crew out of the water. Safe, home, historic. Now, what comes after Artemis II? The plan is to keep going. The next missions will be even more ambitious. Artemis IV, planned for 2028, aims to actually land humans on the moon for the first time since 1972. And not just anywhere on the moon. At the South Pole, where the water ice is, where the resources are, where a future base could one day be built. NASA's long-term dream is a permanent moon base, a real structure where astronauts can live for extended periods, conduct science, test technologies, and prepare for the next giant step. Mars. A human mission to Mars is still many years away, probably the 2040s at the earliest. Mars is about 225 million kilometers from Earth. The Moon is 384,000 kilometers. Going to Mars is almost 600 times farther than going to the Moon. The journey alone takes about 7 months, each way, but every great journey starts with smaller steps, and Artemis II is one of those steps. There is also a race happening in the background. China wants to land their astronauts on the Moon by 2030. If the Artemis program stays on schedule, and that is a big if given the history of delays, America could get there first, again. But many scientists and thinkers say the Moon does not need to be a competition. They say it should be a place for all of humanity, a place where different countries work together, share resources, share knowledge, and explore together. That is actually the vision that the Artemis crew represents. Reed Wiseman from America, Victor Glover from America, Christina Koch from America, Jeremy Hansen from Canada. Different backgrounds, different stories, one mission, one spacecraft, one destination. And that brings us to why any of this really matters. Yes, space exploration is expensive. Yes, there are problems on Earth that need money and attention. Both of those things are true at the same time. But humans have always explored. Always. It is something deep inside us. This need to go further, to see what is over the next hill, across the next ocean, beyond the next horizon. The people who first sailed across unknown oceans did not know exactly what they would find. They went anyway, and the world changed because of it. The Moon is our next horizon. And beyond the moon, Mars. And beyond Mars, who knows? When Artemis II launched on April 1st, 2026, thousands of people gathered near Kennedy Space Center in Florida to watch. Millions more watched online from every country in the world. People who had never met each other, who spoke different languages, who lived completely different lives, all of them looked up at the same sky and watched the same rocket climb towards space. For a few minutes, everybody was watching the same thing, feeling the same thing. That feeling, that shared sense of wonder, of possibility, of being part of something bigger than yourself, that is what space exploration gives us, and no price tag can fully measure that. Commander Reed Wiseman said it simply before launch. He looked at the moon in the sky inside the Orion capsule and told the ground team, "We have a beautiful moonrise. We're headed right at it. Right at it. 4 humans, 1 spacecraft, 1 moon, and a future that is just beginning." This has been your English learning journey through one of the greatest stories of our time. Thank you for listening. Keep practicing. Keep learning. And remember, if 4 people can travel to the moon and back, you can absolutely learn English. See you next time.